Hello, I'm here with Doug to talk about phones hurting your kids. Among many other things, it is Tuesday, August 5th, 2025. And I should mention the next couple of these are probably going to be on strange days and late because I'll be at DEF CON and Hope. Anyway, but
Oh,
this
that's
one's on
right.
time.
So
So,
wait, I got
yeah,
I'm curious, Sam.
yeah.
So is it because kids are swallowing phones?
No, and
Wait, wait,
it's not because
not
of the
swallow.
radiation either.
It's not the radiation. So
Yep.
is it because they're throwing them at their friends?
Well, not this study.
No. Okay.
That might
What's the
also be.
study?
But there's a new study that came out, a global study of more than 100,000 young people that claim that smartphone ownership is very bad for the mental health of kids. And what they did was they have something called the Mind Health Quotient, a self-assessment tool that measures social, emotional, cognitive, and physical well-being to generate a mind health score. And they found that kids who had a smartphone before age 13 had lower scores, with scores declining to 1 for people who have a smartphone from age of 5, and it's 30 if they don't get a smartphone until age 13. And they say the specific symptoms most strongly linked with earlier smartphone ownership include suicidal thoughts, aggression, detachment from reality, and hallucinations. So they strongly recommend that we limit smartphone use to people 13 and above, in the same way we do with alcohol and tobacco. So it's,
And who
yeah.
paid for the study?
Well, I mean, I don't think I know that. Uh, it's it's in the Journal of Human Development and Capabilities, and a couple of people here. I don't know. It's not obvious. I mean, it looks
Yeah.
like your typical university study, but of course,
Oh,
somebody had to fund it.
right.
They don't mention the universities, but yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. It's not easy to tell from a study like this. I mean, maybe, but I mean, I don't think. You think anybody would benefit from not having smartphones for kids? That's not obvious to me.
Well, it's uh, yeah. I do think that there's a group of people that feels that technology is bad.
Well, sure. And there's a group of people that would just like not to have smartphone go to kids, just like there's people that want to ban
Right.
video games and stuff. But I don't think there's anybody that would make money out of kids not having smartphones.
No, no, I don't think so. But I do think that there's an agenda that's out there.
Oh, there
And
is probably, yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
also, there's a guy, the famous guy at NYU, Chuck Gallo's always talking about him, that made the same argument more indirectly. He showed that young girls have a higher incidence of suicide and cutting themselves and stuff since social networks became popular. So his point is social networks appear to be bad for young girls. It's very, Jonathan Haidt, that's his name. He wrote a book about it and everything. So,
So
yeah, but he
yeah.
much
So
less convincing data than this. I mean, he just goes by the time correlation. This is
yeah.
much better. They actually specifically find kids who had smartphones at a certain age and kids who didn't get a smartphone until a later age and then compare them. So that seems like a much more scientific, believable thing.
I we'll see.
And
We'll
nothing's ever
see.
perfect. Anyway,
Right.
but
Yeah.
actually, I also must say, I also think both of these seem intuitively obvious to me. It seems to me like kids need to go out and run around and play with other kids to develop social skills. And if they don't do that and they stay home on either the computer or their phone, I would imagine it does impair their social skills.
Yeah, and I will say I'm hearing the same thing when I was a kid about TV.
Well, I wonder if you could find a population that watched a lot of TV and a population that watched no TV, and I bet you'd show a difference in their social skills.
Yeah.
And I must say, I noticed this. For a while, I was the advisor running the video game club in the hacking lab. There's a computer sitting there, and the video game club members were just appalling. They were like satires I'd seen on TV. They were rude, insulting, couldn't even look at people. Their social skills were far worse than even the computer hackers, which are not very high in social skills. So my impression was people that spend like their whole life on a computer in fact, are very, very socially behind people who go out and talk to people, which makes sense to me. And I think, especially in childhood and in the early years of mating, those social skills really strongly affect your emotional health. The fact that you can't make friends and and stuff, I think really affects you in a lot of ways. So it makes sense.
Yeah, but I think there are also other correlations that are involved.
I'm sure there are.
So,
But the
yeah,
interesting
yeah,
question is, should they regulate smartphones and age gate social media and smartphones? And a lot of people say they should. I don't know. And as we pointed out a lot, there's a huge technical problem actually doing that. You know, in UK and Australia, they're actually trying to age gate pornography and stuff. And the problem is kids are real good at getting around those barriers.
right, right.
So that's another problem.
Yeah. All right, let's move on.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
we can debate this for
yeah.
years to come.
Yeah, yeah. Well, anyway, I thought that was an impressive study. All right. Well, I found a couple of political things.
Okay.
There's videos called the American, and one example is the American Revolution Oversimplified, and these are really great. I just learned about them. They summarize the American Revolution in like it's a 10 or 15-minute lesson with cartoons and jokes. It's so much better and so much more accurate than the garbage I was taught as a child about George Washington and the cherry tree and stupid things like that. So I was very impressed by it. And there's a article that says America is going through its every 80-year reinvention that goes through history and points out that every 80 years we have a crisis like this. Before this, anyway, he talks about there was the Civil War and there was the Great Depression. Every 80 years, almost precisely, we have a place like we have right now when the country is very split, when people are arguing like crazy, and then something new emerges. And so he said, you know, we are on the cusp. We are currently at the point of sort of maximum chaos and disorder and hostility, which will be followed by some kind of new thing coming out of it. And that seems true to me. That's why I say I feel better than I did in the first Trump administration. I think this is going to be followed by a sort of New Deal, a sort of
Yeah.
lurch to the left and a sort of reinvention of America on new terms. And I think this madness of fascism and horrible cruelty is going to pass away.
Okay.
Anyway, so I was they did an analysis of how much money Doge saved, and the answer is it wasted $20 billion. Detailed document has come out showing that they lost a lot more money than they saved, which I think was pretty clear all along. Which is why Elon Musk got mad. I mean, he actually wanted to save money. And that's part of why he broke up with Trump and said, you know, this is no good. We were going to save money. You're just spending more money than ever. What is this garbage? Which is absolutely true. He said, I'll get even with you. You're in the Epstein files. Ha ha. And boy, that does seem to have really hurt him.
Wait, hurt
Hurt Trump.
Elon?
Hurt Trump.
Trump.
That was
Yeah.
Trump trying to hurt. That was Elon trying
Yeah.
to hurt Trump. And it worked. Boy, Trump can't make the Epstein files go away. It's been about a month, and his base is madder than hell at him. They aren't
And
willing to overlook that one.
Sam, is there anything in the Epstein files that links, say, Trump or what's been released, or say Bill Gates or some of the other people that have been claimed?
Yes. And Bill Clinton. All of them.
Oh, and Clinton.
Yeah. And a whole lot of other famous and important people all around New York City for like a decade were going to Epstein parties, going to the Epstein Island, riding on his jet, going to the parties, hanging around at Mar-a-Lago with the teenage models at parties and stuff. I mean,
Okay.
and apparently a lot of that stuff was being videotaped secretly. So apparently
So,
there's a lot of blackmail material floating
so
around.
where are the videotapes?
The FBI has them. They claim to have thousands of hours of
Oh,
videotapes.
I see. Okay.
And they were going to release them all. And now suddenly they said, oh, no, there's nothing there. Never mind. That's why the mega base is really mad. I mean, it seems extremely obvious that there is stuff there that will really embarrass Trump,
This kind of sounds like the Hunter Biden laptop again.
which turned out to be real. He thought it
Did
was
it?
fake. Yeah, oh, yeah, it turned out to be real. That's the thing.
Okay.
At first, they said it was Russian disinformation and ignore it. And then it turned out to be real. That really was Hunter Biden's laptops. There really are a bunch of embarrassing pictures and stuff of him on there.
Okay.
He's
Okay.
on there taking drugs and having sex with hookers and stuff. And obviously, there's something similar about Trump. He's in there doing
Okay.
something which would be unseemly, apparently.
Okay.
Anyway, so I mean, I don't think any of them can be prosecuted at this point because there's statute of limitations and stuff. But apparently, there's something on there that he thinks would be bad politically. Anyway,
Yeah.
uh,
Well, yeah. Okay.
yeah. So anyway, I think that's all the politics I wanted to mention. I got a few InfoSec stories and then a lot of really small ones. But one of them was pretty interesting. Is the biggest crypto heist in history happened in 2020 when they stole $114 billion from a company called Lubane, and they covered it up. It only came out recently that it was stolen, and they never took the money. The owners, however, still are in control of it. They consolidated it into one account, but they never liquidated it, so it's risen to a ridiculous amount of money. So this is one thing about Bitcoin. The original founder,
Toshi Nakamoto.
Satoshi Nakamoto, has something like $100 billion worth or something that he's never touched. And
Right.
these guys stole something that I, I think the current value is 14 billion and they're not touching it. It's just amazing that somebody would just let that much money just sit there and not do anything.
So they stole the money,
And
but
they just moved it around from one account to another, showing they are in control of it, but they never sold it, never turned it into real cash. It's just sitting there growing as Bitcoin grows.
who'd they steal it from?
They stole it from a exchange called Lubane. One of the early
Oh, I
exchanges
see.
was Lubane, and they, without any explanation, they suddenly shut closed. And now it turned
Lubane
out that
did.
was because somebody stole all the money.
I see.
They
I
just
see.
announced, "Oh, we're shutting this down." They didn't say they'd been hacked, but they were hacked.
They were hacked. So the people who had ownership of that money is now, it's gone.
It's gone. Been gone for years.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
just shut
Okay.
down without explanation. Now it turned out it was stolen and it's still on the chain. Somebody
Yeah.
got it.
Got it.
Of
Got
course,
it.
one thing is if they were to cash out and you could find out where the cash went, maybe you could punish them for the theft. But anyway, it's these
I
crazy
mean,
people.
Sam,
Yeah.
there's got to be hundreds of billions of dollars
Oh, yeah.
of Bitcoin that's unclaimed.
Oh, there's is, for example, something like 10 or 15% of all the Bitcoins have been lost and are unrecoverable.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
probably Satoshi Nakamoto should be in that category because he seems to have just vanished utterly and never come back. So he probably died or something.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so a whole lot of it is just gone without a trace. And
Yeah.
now there's a Bitcoin improvement proposal beginning now. Within a few years, they're going to change the encryption method because they're worried about quantum computing cracking the elliptic curves they're using. And they mention anybody that doesn't move their stuff to a new account, it'll be unrecoverable after that point.
So it's kind of like currency, like Greek drachmas or
Right, right.
European francs that would be useless now.
Yeah, when you
Or
cancel
yeah,
a unit of currency and say, this one isn't worth anything anymore, you have only until a certain amount of time to trade it in and get the new one.
yeah, right, right,
Yeah.
right.
Then
Hmm.
there's one you might know something about. Microsoft claims they have this new super quantum computer, Majorana Fermions. And I thought this was not very important, but Satya Nadella on Microsoft's latest earning call, he said the next big accelerator in the cloud is going to be quantum computing. He said quantum is heating up just like the AI arms race, and Microsoft is building Magna, a robust neutral atom quantum system, and it's going to begin in fall 2025 with workloads targeted for 2027. So that's very surprising to me. I thought quantum computing was decades away, but he
So
claims he's going to have it doing something valuable by 2027.
okay, well,
And we'll see.
we'll see, right?
Yeah,
We'll
that's
see.
why
It's
all
still a
these,
few years away.
yeah, all these ones, that's why I see these little ones. The ones I have now are sort of incomplete or prognosis. There was a Delta flight that had amazing turbulence, sent like 25 people to the hospital. The guy and they said it had dropped by 1,000 feet in 30 seconds. And they said they
Wow.
were flying over thunderstorms, but it was supposed to be okay. But the thunderstorms had much more turbulence at a high level than they were expected to. And at least one report I read said that we can expect more of this because of global warming. The weather patterns are different. So the rules that pilots use to decide what it's safe to fly through don't work as well anymore. But the guy said it was amazing. There was a huge jolt that was terrible, and then one that was even worse, and then one that was even worse, until all the passengers are bouncing off the roof, the tray car and the attendants are bouncing off the roof. Everybody getting soaked with like stuff. He said if you didn't have your seatbelt on, people got injured, and 25 people went to the hospital. I think nobody died, but it sounded really pretty awful.
Hmm.
Yeah. And
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
it, Sam, what can I say other than it happens?
Yeah, yeah. Well, apparently it's worse. Anyway, so, and then Ukraine, this is a pretty good one. So Ukraine had a soldier that was pinned down and couldn't escape. So they got a big drone and they delivered an e-bike to him so he could ride out on the e-bike. Apparently they've done this before. Now, the Amazon delivery drones can only carry like 4 or 5 pounds. This apparently, you make a drone big enough to carry a whole e-bike. It took 3 tries. The first one got shot down. The next one failed. By the third try, they managed to deliver the guy an e-bike to ride out of his bad position. So that's a good one. Yeah. And
That is pretty good.
yeah, yeah. And all right. So Microsoft Azure Speech has now been improved. So they say with just a few seconds of audio, they can duplicate your voice. So that's handy for criminals. I don't know what they said. Now it's worryingly accurate.
Hmm.
Um, and
So, do you know, is that publicly available?
I think so. It's in Azure. I'm not sure it's free, but I think it's in publicly
Oh,
available.
I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a blog called The Untold Impact of Cancellation. A developer in Scala was canceled like so many people. He was accused of like sort of sexual misconduct around flirting and dating or something. And he claims it was all false. But as soon as the accusation came out, everybody turned against him. He lost his job, lost all his consulting gigs, went through a disaster. And I say, it's kind of this is the problem. The another one of these things that just keeps going around, like the Me Too movement. When you have some kind of abuse going on, but you can't really prove it, and it never really goes to court, then you get people that get accused, and everybody piles on just based on the accusation, and maybe the guy was innocent, which seems to be the case here. And even so, their life is ruined as the scandal goes around.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I don't think we've ever had this one solved from the beginning of time. I mean, it's in the Bible, it's in the Quran. How do you handle accusations of rape? And the problem is it's he said, she said, and there's nothing resembling like an orderly trial process with evidence and proof that really seems to do much good in these cases.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
anyway, oh, there's a good one. So Google, a chat GPT has an option. You remembers your history as you ask questions, and you can share your history so you can check it on another box or something. But there's a box that mentions if you do save your history in this fashion, it's going to be publicly indexed by Google for the whole world. But the message is confusing, so people didn't understand that. So people have been sharing their conversation with ChatGPT and publicly indexed by Google. And a lot of those are personal things they didn't mean to share, so they're trying to fix that. They've taken away the share feature now, and they're trying to clean the old ones out of the Google index. Uh, that kind of thing tends to happen, sort of like dark patterns.
Yeah.
And there's a,
Well,
yeah,
oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
and there's other ones here that more and more I'm not quite sure what to make of. Like there's, the cold boot attack. I mean, that's a real one from Stanford where you freeze the RAM and you can find like the BitLocker
Yeah.
key in there. Okay, so there's a new one called, and the SRAM has no chill, but what they do is they connect to one of the pins on the RAM and apply power. So when you shut down the machine, the chip doesn't shut off all the way. So then the secret is still in there. I'm thinking,
I see.
this doesn't prove anything. I mean, if you could do that, you had access to the secret in the first place anyway. So they're making a big deal out of this, but I don't get it. Maybe I'm missing something, but this seems to me to be completely pointless in practice. If you could do this, then you already had access to the secret anyway.
So, could this be used by law enforcement, FBI, NSA if you seize a computer or
Yeah, but it
seize a
has to be
device
on. But it has to be on when you seize it. So you
like
can
a
just read
cell
the RAM.
phone?
So you can just read the RAM.
Yeah.
I mean, the point of the cold boot attack,
Well, with the
you,
cold boot attack, you
yeah,
also had to have the computer.
it could be suspended. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. But somehow you're able to get it from memory. So maybe that's right. Anyway, I don't quite understand the benefit of this one. We'll see. I'm sure they're going to be presenting it at DEF CON and Black Hat, and then there'll be articles to argue about whether it actually means it.
Yeah. There you go.
I'm waiting for other people to figure it out. Um,
Yeah.
and there's Cloudflare has jumped on the bandwagon of many other people saying that Perplexity is highly unethical and they crawl everybody's sites even if you block them. Cloudflare has chapter and verse. I mean, other people have accused them of this, but Cloudflare has the actual logs because they protect you from people using your site improperly and they keep good logs. So they said, well, if you put something in robots.txt telling them not to look in this folder, they look in the folder anyway. If you put in a web application firewall blocking their IP addresses, they will detect that and then spin up 1,000 other domains that are not known to be used for this purpose and try many random host agents and stuff and send millions of requests punching through all your defenses to crawl your site whether you like it or not. And now that they're beginning to have kind of Cloudflare is of course interested because they now have a product to block your site from AI crawlers. And they're
Yeah.
recommending that everybody use this. And Reddit sold the rights to crawl it to a certain LLM, and other people are doing that. So it's becoming a commercial matter that letting people crawl your site for AI is something they need to pay for. And if they didn't pay for it, they're not allowed to do it. So Perplexity just blasting in past all your defenses is probably going to become something they can have a lawsuit about.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
And so Proton, Proton has had a pretty good name, Proton Mail, Proton VPN. Well, I've been reading on Mastodon. They say nobody should use Proton. They say Proton uses vibe coding to write their code now, and their code is garbage. And Proton has an authenticator. They have a new authenticator, and the authenticator takes this master secret for your one-time passwords and puts it in the log where you can see it. Of course, it's an Apple log, the one they showed, and I don't think that's visible to other apps, although I'm not sure. But anyway, that is pretty sleazy, sloppy coding. And maybe they are using vibe coding. Maybe that's why their code is garbage now.
Yeah.
But their whole thing was to be the secure alternative, and they don't seem to be living up to that. And I think
Yeah.
another one in this last one I have is in the same spirit. Google claims they have an AI bug hunter that found 20 new vulnerabilities, but there are no details of how they found them or what the vulnerabilities are. There's just a list of their names. They're waiting to notify people and all that. This is the second report like this. There was another one a few months ago where the number one bug bounty winner on HackerOne is now an AI. But it turns out that it's not an AI alone. It's an AI code scanner which reported vulnerabilities, which then had to be reviewed by humans and tested, and like 99% of them are false positives and all that jazz. So just like all the middle management thinks I can fire the staff and replace them with AI, that is not true. What you can do is take your staff and give them AI tools that will help them be more productive. But you're still going to need humans to
Yeah.
monitor and oversee and supervise that AI work. Anyway,
Yeah. Well, I got one for you.
yeah.
Remember the Y2K issue of 25 years ago?
Yeah, and there's a new one coming up in 2038, right?
Yeah, the new one is for Debian. Well, for the Unix apocalypse is what it's being called.
If they use
13.
32-bit time, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I think somebody's going with 64-bit time. I
Yeah,
don't know, Red
Debian
Hat or somebody. Yeah.
isn't waiting for things to blow up and they're switching to 64
That would
bit
make a lot
time
of
now.
sense to switch before the date rather than have some kind of stupid crisis.
Yeah, and couple side stories. Boeing ran into this problem. Do
Yeah.
you know about that?
No.
So they had a for the I can't remember the 740 or 777 or 787. They used, I think it was a Linux Unix operating system, and it would never shut down, but it had a timer or it had a clock, a time in there, right? And that was, I think, on 32-bit, may have been 16. But when it would reach 000, in other words, when it was rolling over to come back, when it ran out of bits, the plane would reboot all the computers.
Oh, yeah.
And so it didn't matter if you were sitting on the ground. And when the planes are parked, the computers are still running, the clocks are still running. So they found this anomaly a couple times with planes that were on the ground, but it could have affected planes while they were flying or landing or taking off. So they quickly found that, switched to double the number of bits, so it's not a problem in the lifetime of the planes. In other words, there's enough bits in the time, uh, in the time field.
Good that they caught it.
Yeah, it's a good they caught it.
I remember
And kind of,
I heard about hospitals that had like surgery equipment reboot with Windows XP updates during surgery. The same
yeah,
kind of thing, you know.
yeah. So, this isn't a new problem, right? It's been around for a while.
No, and it's all close to the fundamental thing we talk about, how the OT and IT problem. You have hardware devices you want to keep using for like 10 years, but the
Yeah,
IT people keep thinking you got to update every month, you got to replace the whole thing every 3 or 4 years, and that doesn't get along with the actual usable life cycle of more hardware-oriented devices, you know.
yeah. Well,
IT.
and the Y2K was we were using 2 bits per year,
Right.
right? And why'd we use 2 bits? Because
Two digits.
2 digits.
Two
Yeah.
bits would have
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
even
I'm
worse.
sorry. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
You see
Yeah.
two, and I'm surprised. I mean, two-digit years only would make sense in the world of COBOL, where you actually store decimal digits one by one, and you specify how many digits in the language. Binary languages shouldn't have had that problem, like Windows. But anyway,
Yeah.
I think it
Yeah.
was mostly COBOL infrastructure because I'm teaching COBOL, and COBOL really did that. You specify how many digits something was, and it would store it directly in base 10.
Yeah. Well, as I recall, one of the original operating systems stored the year in a 1 digit format.
One digit.
Yeah. So it was just the least significant year.
So
So you had a
it
10,
thought the entire lifetime of the thing would only be 10 years or something.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a little extreme. I mean, I can understand the COBOL people that put up something in like the 70s and said, well, this is not going to last for 30 years, so it doesn't matter.
Right. Right.
But I mean,
Right.
thinking it's only going to last for 10 years is pretty pessimistic, I'd say.
Well, I think it's because memory was expensive, right?
Oh, okay. Well, fair enough. Well, then you should
Yeah.
make it so that if it doesn't need to know which decade it's in.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm just telling you
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
we live and learn.
Yeah. One thing is in the early days, there wasn't any product expiration or anything, so it didn't really matter what year it was.
Right. Yeah. That's true too.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway,
You're running an assembly line. Who cares what year it is?
yeah, I mean, it's just a stamp. But then once you start making things, this is what happens like the internet. First, the internet is just there to share cat pictures. Then people
Yeah.
start using it for email. Then they start using it for like medical devices and telephone networks
Right.
and stuff. So a network that was never intended to be precise and reliable enough is now used for critical stuff.
Yeah.
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 It's another fundamental law of technology, mission creep. Like, people wrote ChatGPT to pass the Turing test, and now people are using it as their personal psychiatrist. And it's screwing them up. And well, we didn't think of that. We didn't plan for that.
Well, and I would probably argue that was not its intended use.
Yeah, well, in fact, right now it's so new we don't even really know what the intended use was.
Right.
But certainly they just trained it on all the data on the internet, which is like um, chat logs from services like 4chan and stuff. So if you ask somebody, is this going to be a good psychiatrist? They just say, hell no, it's probably going to drive you crazy. It's
Yeah.
trained on like the craziest, most psychotic discussion in the internet. If you wanted to be a psychiatrist, you would train it on something else.
Yeah. There you go.
If
There
you
you
can
go.
find a healthy discussion, like maybe Mr. Rogers or something, I don't know. But like you certainly would try and pick, clean, sane things to train it on, not just random internet stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So let's move on. The other story that I've got for you is,
Yeah.
did you follow the Tesla lawsuit?
Which one?
The jury in Florida that ordered Tesla to pay more than 240 million in an autopilot crash.
Oh, I think I saw that go by. And boy, I mean, if it does have quite a few crashes, if you can do that, this is going to be something that could destroy the whole company, sort of like the tobacco lawsuits.
Yeah, however, the story is a little bit different. So it held Tesla. Do you know the facts behind the story?
No.
Okay. So this is kind of interesting. So they felt that Tesla bore some responsibility because its technology failed. And what happened was the driver of the car admitted that he dropped his cell phone and he was trying to pick it up while he hit, I believe, another car that spun around and hit a couple who were out looking at stars.
And he thought the auto driving would take care of it, right?
Yeah, that's my understanding of this.
Yeah.
So
And
this,
Tesla supposedly makes sure that your hands are on the wheel and your eyes are on the road, but apparently that system isn't that good.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's kind of an interesting case to a degree, but at the same time, we're seeing more driverless ride sharing services come
Yeah, but I
to
think I think everybody knows that like if the Waymo hits somebody, you can totally sue the company, I would think.
to sue Waymo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's why
but
they're people tell me the Waymos are very cautious to try to really be careful and not hit anybody, which is what you would want and expect, I think.
yeah, and Sam, there's another story that's related to this. Here the guy drops his cell phone, right?
Mhm.
And while he's fumbling around, I guess he had autopilot on or turned it on, and I guess thought that autopilot would, I don't know,
Well, they
drive the
well,
car while
a
he
lot of people
fumbles for the
think
phone.
Tesla trust the Tesla autopilot and think they can like totally ignore the screen, play video game, get drunk, things like that.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess this reminds me or brings up a related story of a helicopter pilot. And there were helicopter pilots fighting a wildfire, and they were doing the drops, as I recall, or
Wow.
maybe they were search and rescue. But there were two helicopters, and one was in the process of getting ready to take off, and the other one was coming into land. And this is a really interesting story. The two of them collided with each other. I don't know if who was injured or what the outcome was in terms of people. But come to think of it, the landing helicopter, the crew there would have perished, and I'm not sure the crew on the ground. But what they found was that they were flying with an iPad, which is acceptable, and they dropped it. One of the pilots dropped it, and it fell into the foot levers. And as they were trying to steer the plane, they lost control because they couldn't push one of the pedals.
Right, it jammed the levers.
It jammed the levers, so to speak.
That was a problem with Tesla for a while. There was some kind of piece on one of the pedals that could slide over and stick.
Well, that was the claim with Toyota with
Oh,
the
maybe that was it. Yeah.
with the floor mats.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that turned out to be incorrect. Anyway, when they
Okay.
investigated the crash, they found the iPad and they found this dent, if you will, in the case of the iPad, and it matched up with the levers on the floor.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, that's an
Yeah,
understandable
yeah,
source cause of a crash.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm
So kind
glad.
of
I wondered if you
interesting.
were going to tell me that we had a helicopter on autopilot because I really don't think that exists, and especially not in a situation like a fire. You really need a human driving that thing.
Yeah, well, again, they were taking off from,
Yeah.
landing and taking off. And I don't know if I know planes can land on
Yeah.
autopilot.
I've heard
I
that
don't,
helicopters are in fact very, very difficult and dangerous to operate. They
they
say,
are.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I know Hollywood types keep getting killed in helicopter crashes. Apparently, it's harder. They tend to tip over and crash, and you have to work hard to keep them upright.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Huh.
they're a lot less stable than airplanes.
Yeah, yeah, of course, because it's wind that's downward uh, flow of wind that's keeping them up, not a wing.
I've noticed drones have these four propellers, quadcopters. Maybe that's to make it more stable.
Yeah, yeah, or they have six.
Yeah, they don't seem to just have one like helicopter, though. That doesn't seem to be a popular drone design.
Wait, they'd have one? What?
They
How
don't, and
many?
all the drones seem to have a lot. They don't seem to make drones with just one like a helicopter. So I guess it's a lot easier to drive if you have more
Yeah,
propellers. Yeah. Hard
yeah,
enough to drive
yeah.
those. I had a little quadcopter for a while, and man, I couldn't drive that thing worth a damn. One of my students got pretty good at it, like playing like a video game, but we crashed it a lot. They're hard to drive.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
not a small thing. All right.
Yeah. Anyway, what else you have for
Well,
us?
that's it for me.
All right, that's it for me this time.
Okay, so I'm hoping to have another one of these on Friday or something, but it may be somewhat delayed, like I say, because of DEF CON. Our timing, we'll have to work it out.
Yeah.
Okay,
All
farewell.
right. Sounds good, Sam. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.